Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be providing some tech news updates for China and how they are outcompeting, finessing the United States, and it's related to 5G technology and also semiconductor chips. And so this very brief article we're going to start off with is on how China plans to expand 5G application scenarios and boost research and development on 6G. And I've heard they were already working on 6G plus. So remember, China is a millennia-old nation state, a millennia-old civilization. And so they really do tend to think in the long term, unlike the United States, which thinks in quarterly earnings terms. And so this article is from the English News China site. And so it says that China will speed up the construction of virtual private networks in the 5G industry and enrich the country's 5G application scenarios. Industry and Information Technology Minister, the Information and Technology Minister said on Sunday, China will improve the coverage of high-quality networks such as 5G and gigabyte optical networks by continuously optimizing the infrastructure layout and build a batch of 5G factories. The chairman of China Telecom, which is a major company, said the company has been building an all-optical network with gigabyte optical networks now covering more than 300 cities. Wow, okay. China Mobile. So I've said this a long time ago, and I actually did, I believe, say this to, I said it to a Chinese audience probably 13-ish years ago, but the things that really matter for getting the most, maximizing your people's potential, human capital, was you have to have good communication and transportation technology. And this is something that could give them a competitive edge when it comes to outcompeting America, because America goes around destroying things so that it can exploit the populace and extract their resources. And if China gets a kind of a monopoly on building good infrastructure, then it provides a complete alternative that is really the radical opposite of the United States. And on top of that, since it helps with communication and transportation technology, you can build these things up not only domestically but abroad. You really can maximize the potential of your people within your country. And it seems like they understand that. I don't know if they ever heard my writings on this, but they certainly seem to understand that because they focus so much on making sure their people have the latest and greatest communication technology, and they have the latest and greatest in transportation technology. And so you have people who may be from the interior of the country who can get to the big cities and actually help and participate and give their ideas. And so you're seeing China focus on the things that really create an interconnected society. And I love to see it because that's exactly what I expect from a nation state. Okay, so the article says China Mobile, another telecom giant in China, said it had led nearly 200 international standards for 5G and applied for more than 4,100 patents. Wow, okay. I mean, you want to lead the international standards because that decides the future directions of the technology. If you're deciding the standards, you're the ones who can kind of get ahead in creating the technology because you're the ones who are saying this is the structure that people have to follow when it comes to this type of technology. You're setting the standard. According to China Tower, the company has made more than 200,000 communication towers smarter by equipping them with 5G and artificial intelligence. Jin also said China is eyeing the next generation internet as well as other frontier fields and comprehensively advancing the research and development of sixth generation communication technology. The country will facilitate the development of new types of information infrastructure facilities, speed up the use of information technology, and deepen the integrated applications of the industrial internet, he said. The incubation of emerging sectors will be quickened while the efforts will continuously be made to enhance the country's full industrial chain advantage in the sectors of mobile and optical communication, according to Jin. So they have a major competitive edge here when it comes to their communication and transportation technology. And it makes it so these other countries just, even if they have to pay higher wages here, there are so many other lower costs just because of how technologically advanced China is, that these other countries will willingly pay Chinese higher wages than, say, go to another country like, say, India, where things are just complicated, they're inconvenient, there's not the infrastructure there. And so China just has this competitive edge where they can take care of their own workers while at the same time providing value to various organizations that might want to build their factories there. So just great to see it. We have another article here we'll try to get through quickly. I talk a lot about semiconductor chips, but it's such a key technology that I think it's worth going over and worth talking about whenever the technology faces some type of advancement. So here we see that the CEO of Intel says they may build less factories if US expands China chip curbs. So China chip curbs are hurting American companies, Western companies, far more than they're hurting China. Leaders of the largest US chip maker told Biden officials this week that the administration should study the impact of restrictions on exports to China and pause before implementing new ones, according to people familiar with their discussions. So something to remember here is America, when possible, does work for the interests of the mega corporations of the world, but there is a hierarchy to those major corporations, and Intel is not at the top tier of these types of corporations. The banking cartels, who also control media and entertainment in the United States and in the Western world, they are at the top of the hierarchy. Okay, the pro-Zionist oligarchs, they are at the top of the hierarchy. Intel, sure, United States will try to give them a competitive advantage both domestically and abroad whenever necessary, but if it ever came down to whose interests matter more, it is definitely the banking cartels and their media and entertainment apparatus that matters the most. And that's what you're seeing here, where the banking cartels are very threatened by Russia and China. And so when it comes to Intel saying, hey, we don't want this to happen, but then you have the banking cartels say, hey, yes, we do want a trade war. We want to destroy these countries. It's Intel that loses out and the banking cartels win because they completely control the Western civilization at this point. They overthrew the monarchies. They overthrew all nobility. They overthrew the prior oligarchs, such as the big oil oligarchs. It's really the pro-Zionist oligarchs that completely control the West at this point. So the article goes on to talk about the chip industry and how it's trying to navigate the tensions and how current restrictions are hurting the current major Western companies that are in the technology field, such as Intel. Okay, so the Biden team has been exploring ways to further tighten existing curbs, for example, by targeting chips made by NVIDIA specifically for the China market, according to people familiar with the matter. Yeah, so something else here is whenever places like NVIDIA heard that there would be restrictions, they just made various technology that circumvented the restrictions. And there's been incidences in the past where the organizations have been told you can either trade with China, you can sell things to China, or you could use American technology in your product. And a lot of companies actually say, all right, we're just not going to use American technology in our products anymore because we want to continue to trade with China. And America is just not going to clue that it's not really key to the international economy anymore. And so it really can't use that as leverage. If it's a matter of people, organizations have an option of who to trade with, United States or China, nearly everyone is going to trade with China because China just has more to offer than the United States. Okay, so the article goes on to say the vast majority of sales of chips designed by the United States to China has continued unabated. It continues to this day. They're looking at more curbs. It's not going to work. Okay, so article goes on to say without orders from Chinese customers, there will be much less need to go ahead with projects such as Intel's planned factory complex in Ohio, the executive said. So this is Intel CEO. According to the people, NVIDIA's Huang said that limiting sales of some of his chips in China had merely made alternatives more popular. Okay, so what they're saying here is that NVIDIA couldn't sell some chips, and so the other chips that they were still allowed to sell just became more popular. So China's just figuring out temporary solutions to work around this until they have a domestic supply of the various technologies they need. Overall, the executives argued that while Chinese customers have been forced to buy more chips to do the work of banned products, that hasn't significantly slowed them down. Okay, so here's another thing is, if you're not able to get the most advanced, fastest chips, you could just buy more of the less advanced chips and it does the same job most of the time. And so that's just what they've been doing. The availability and quality of software they're using more than compensates for any hardware restrictions, they argued. Okay. Let's see what else this article has to say here. So far, chip equipment makers such as Applied Materials, Inc., have taken the biggest hits to revenue, being forced to knock billions of dollars off their projections, but the restrictions, which companies fear will be extended to other classes of chips, are also affecting some device makers. So the trade war, just in summary, is not going well for the United States, while it is helping China to innovate as much as possible. And we've seen the same with Russia, where when the West has put restrictions on Russia, they've just figured out domestic solutions and other solutions from their allies, their trusted partners, so they have their own growing parallel international economy. And it's a new phase of the ongoing Cold War that is likely to escalate within the next decade, maybe 2 decades, into a world war. So that's what I'll leave you with, just some tech updates. Thank you for watching. Please leave us a like. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Rumble. Leave us a comment in the comment section below, questions, concerns, critiques you might have. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.